Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the channel. My name is DaReal, and we are here with some NBA 2K Mobile, and we got some new cards that have been added to the catalog. One of the cards that was recently added is the Amber Courtside Pass Giannis. This card is a beast and definitely one you want to target and add to your squad. This is the best power forward in the game and the second best player in the game overall based off of stats. So Giannis is definitely somebody you want to have on your team. And in addition to Giannis, we got a brand new theme called the Season 5 Heartbreakers. This is a theme that normally comes out around Valentine's Day. So this is definitely going to be jam-packed. You can see there's new amber cards. We're going to start with the pink diamonds, and we'll talk about what cards are in this theme, which cards are craftable, which abilities are being added, which cards are gems, and how to build these players out for your squad when you use them head-to-head gameplay. So we're starting off with a New York Knicks. It's always a W, but I gotta admit, this is a New York Knicks that I wish would get more playing time, but this is Cameron Reddish. He comes in with a pink diamond. He has a clutch time ability, which means that every Tuesday, he's going to get a power increase. Now, Cam Reddish stats, just looking at him, he's got a lot of forwards, which is pretty good. He's got a 5 in agility, a 4 in playmaking, and a 4 in defending. And before I continue, folks, I know that agility says run speed and jumping, but in NBA 2K Mobile, the stat that has been impacting the speed of the player the most has been playmaking. I have no idea why, but that's been the case for a couple of seasons. So that is why I always say build up the playmaking if the player is slow. If I were to build out some stats for Cam Reddish, I would definitely try to bring up, since he's a small forward, I would try to bring up his rebounding just a little bit. And then I will focus on his three-point shot and his mid-range. He could be a good shooter from the wing. And if you could bring up defending, that would be a plus as well. Next, we got Gary Trent Jr. coming in as a pink diamond as well. He is craftable. He also has clutch time, which means every Tuesday he'll get an increase. His stats actually are pretty decent for a shooting guard, right? You could ignore some of the stats that don't matter for the position. But if you look at the mid-range shooting of 5, three-point shots of 5, agility is a 5, and playmaking is a 4. And his defenders are 4. So if you could bring up something for Gary Trent Jr., I would bring up layups and dunks because having a 3 is pretty low. You do want your shooting guards to be able to slash. And then I would just bring up his defending and his shooting stats. Next up is Brook Lopez. He's coming in as a pink diamond as well. Now looking at his stats for a center, that rebounding stat is too low, right? That 3's got to be raised. And the 2 in playmaking has to go up as well. But aside from that, if you could bring up his layups and dunks and his defending, he'll be a decent center for your team because he does have a good mid-range and he has a 3-point shot. And his post scoring is pretty high at a 5. We got Andrew Nembhard. He's coming in with a Galaxy Opal. His stats, looking at him, he's got a 5 in playmaking, which is good for a point guard. His shooting stats are a 4. He's got a 5 in agility and shoot-off dribbles a 4. If I were to bring up any stats, I would boost up his defending. And I would try to bring up his layups and dunks as well. Next, we got a Kelly Olynyk. He's got a Galaxy Opal. He actually has surprisingly good stats. Good look at it. He's got a 5 in three-point shot, which is incredible for a center. He's got a 5 in post scoring. Layups and dunks and mid-range is a 4. So is rebounding and defending. So he's actually pretty decent. So if you were to bring up his playmaking, that would be great. And if you could bring up defending and rebounding even more, he'd be a really good center, like a low-key gem. Next, we got Andre Iguodala. Galaxy Opal, which is craftable. Iggy's stats are pretty good too. He's got a 5 in defending. Shooting stats are each a 4. Layups and dunks is a 4 as well. And playmaking's a 4. So if you want to bring up any of those stats and make him a 5, he'll be pretty solid. Next, we got AJ Griffin kicking off the Dark Matter cards. He's got a 4 in playmaking, 5 in three-point shot, which is pretty good for a small forward. He's got a 4 in mid-range and a 4 in layups and dunks, along with shoot-off dribble and a 5 in agility. So he actually has pretty decent stats. So if we were to bring up anything, playmaking, defending, and layups and dunks. Next, we got Hedo Turkoglu, definitely one of the underrated gems in this game. He's got a 5 in mid-range, a 5 in three-point shot, which is incredible for a power forward. His rebounding is actually fairly decent too. It's a 4. Defending's a 4. Playmaking's a 4. Shoot-off dribbles a 4. So he's a really good overall player. If you were to boost up any of his stats, maybe bring up post scoring since he is a power forward. But a lot of times you're going to be using Hedo Turkoglu on the outside because he is an incredible shooter. Next, we got the Claw, Kawhi Leonard. This is going to be a good card for newer players to get. To be able to get a Kawhi Leonard is a W, and he's craftable for just 3 collectibles. He's got some of the best stats in the game. He's got a 5 in mid-range, a 5 in defending, which is so good, 5 in agility, and a 5 shoot off dribble. Any stat you boost up for Kawhi will be helpful, but if you do want to bring up his 3-point shot, you can do that as well. This is another underrated gem. He's kicking off the Topaz tier. Pretty decent stats overall. He's got a 5 in agility. He's got a 4 in post scoring, which is good for a small forward. If you were to bring up some of his stats, boost up his shooting stats, and bring up his defending. Next, we got T-Mac. This is the Rockets T-Mac. Stat-wise, the best shooting guard in the game. Gameplay-wise for shooting guards, he's up there as well. Him and James Harden are very elite. Then, of course, you got Kobe and Michael Jordan. But T-Mac is a bucket getter. He's got a 5 in layups and dunks, shoot-off dribble, mid-range shooting, 3-point shot, agility. So if you want, boost up his playmaking, and T-Mac will go bananas on your squad. Next, we got John Stockton, who's got a 5 in mid-range, a 5 in 3-point shot, a 5 in shoot-off dribble, and a 5 in playmaking. Now, stat-wise, he's not one of the best point guards, but gameplay-wise, he is pretty good. A really reliable spot-up 3-point shot, and he's a better defender than what that 4 shows. So if you do use John Stockton on your squad, he's not going to be that bad. But if you need to bring up some of his stats, I would bring up the layups and dunks, boost up his defending, and if you could bring up playmaking, go for it. Big shot Robert Horry, kicking off the Jade tier. This is a gem as well. He's got a 5 in 3-point shot because for the most part, he is a pretty good shooter, and he's got a 4 in post scorer. He's pretty decent in the post. If you got to bring up some stats for him, though, you got to bring up playmaking, right? Sitting at a 3, and you got to bring up his mid-range to a 5. That way he can be an inside-outside threat. Next, we got Jeremy Grant. He is a power forward. He's got decent stats, right? That layups and dunk stands out at a 5, and so does that 3-point shot. But you got to bring up playmaking, which is sitting at a 3. And if you can bring up his defending and his rebounding, he'll be a pretty good power forward for you. Next is Steve Francis, coming in at his Jade as well. He is craftable, definitely an underrated gem. He's got a 5 in playmaking, 5 in 3-point shot, mid-range shooting, shoot-off dribble, and agility. So if you want to bring some stuff up, I recommend bringing up his layups and dunks. Steve Francis is a slasher and definitely has incredible bunnies for a point guard. Now we got Pro Kevin Love, one of my favorite centers inside this game. He's got a 5 in post scoring and 3-point shooting, and a 5 in strength and rebounding. So he's really good for your team. If you do need to bring up stuff, bring up playmaking and defending. They're both sitting at a 3, which is fairly low. And he's craftable too. And most of these players got clutch time for Tuesday. That's why I haven't been going over it. Next, we got Jerry Stackhouse. This is a gem too. Don't sleep on Jerry Stackhouse. You can see his stats are very good. 5 in shoot-off dribble, layups and dunks, mid-range shooting, agility. If you got to bring up some stats on Stack, bring up his 3-point shot, his playmaking, and his defending. Next, we got Gilbert Arenas, one of the best point guards inside this game. His playmaking's a 5, mid-range a 5, 3-point shot a 5, shoot-off dribble a 5. So those are elite stats for him. If you do need to bring up anything, bring up his defending and bring up layups and dunks. And if you got more stats to bring up, boost up his shooting because he is a bucket getter. Next is Antoine Walker. Now, I got to admit, I'm very hype about this right here. This was a card I was excited about when it was announced as a Topaz. So now to be able to use him as a power forward, this guy's one of the best stretch fours, probably the original stretch 4. Like, this guy can get buckets. He's got a 5 in mid-range shooting. He's also a really good rebound and post scorer. And he's got a good stat for shoot-off dribble. He can create his own shots. If you could somehow bring up his 3-point shot and bring up his playmaking and layups and dunks, he's going to be a monster. I'm telling you, he could really be one of the best power forwards in this game. And if you like Carlos Boozer, you're going to like Antoine Walker even more. Next up is Derrick Rose, one of the fan favorites and one of the most fun cards to use in NBA 2K Mobile. We got the Obsidian rarity, and he's craftable, which is a W. He's got a 5 in playmaking, mid-range, layups and dunks, and shoot-off dribble. If you want to bring up stats and go crazy with Derrick Rose, boost up playmaking and layups and dunks, and he's going to go crazy. He's definitely very explosive. And if you could bring up defending, because you want him to be able to guard some of the best point guards. Next is Obsidian. David Robinson, another underrated center. Definitely has an excellent mid-range shot. Post scoring is a 5, defending is a 5, which is so good. Rebound is a 5, which is elite, so is strength. So if you do bring up any stats for the Admiral, bring up layups and dunks, bring up playmaking, and if you could, bring up the mid-range. Next, we got an Amber, Paul Pierce. The truth is here, and the truth is one of the elite small forwards, but he's a little slow, so you got to definitely boost up his playmaking. But what's good about Paul Pierce is that all his other stats are pretty solid, right? He's got a 5-inch shoot-off dribble, mid-range shooting, 3-point shot, and defending. So you really could get creative, boost up playmaking. You can boost up his layups and dunks. And if you could, bring up the rebounding. Paul Pierce is going to do everything for your team. And you could build him out to be kind of like a LeBron James. Next, we got an Amber Chris Paul. Now, if y'all been watching me for a while, y'all know Chris Paul is one of my favorite point guards to use in this game. Super underrated. I still think his stats should be better, but regardless of that, he's got a 5-inch shoot-off dribble, mid-range, 3-point shot, playmaking, and defending. One of the best point guards inside this game. If you do need to bring up some stats, bring up his layups and dunks. That way, when he's penetrating to try to find an open shooter, he can hit an open layup or drive to the lane with no problem. He could drive to the lane, take some contact, and make that shot. But Chris Paul, I'm telling you, is going to be a card that you want to add to your team, especially if you don't have the New Year's Stephen Curry or the courtside pass Damian Lillard. The year of the rabbit, Stephon Marbury. And then last but not least, we got Mr. Wade County, Dwyane Wade. One of the best shooting guards in the game. He's right up there with the Elite Four. To all my Pokemon fans, I hope y'all get that reference there. But he definitely is a gem, right? He's got a 5-inch shoot-off dribble, mid-range shooting, playmaking, defending, agility. This guy is a monster. And if you could bring up his 3-point shot, he will be even better for your squad, and bring up his layups and dunks, and he will get so many poster dunks. He's going to be a fun card to get, especially if you missed out on Amber Kobe Bryant. So those are all the players for the new theme. Let's see who was added to the set. Let's see what the upcoming events are and the rewards. So the set reward is Chris Paul. I'm very happy about that. In order to get Chris Paul, though, you got to get Kawhi Leonard, Tracy McGrady. These are all players I don't mind having. Steve Francis, Kevin Love, and Derrick Rose. So all 5 of those players, honestly, are players that you do want to get for this team. So by getting Chris Paul, that's an added W. And here goes the official announcement from NBA 2K Mobile on their Twitter. So the next theme is Heartbreakers, players that had game winners or other clutch moments. Not just one event for this theme. Oh, now that's interesting. Power cap, and the rewards are going to be Amber Paul Pierce, Obsidian David Robinson, and Pearl Jerry Stackhouse. Now both Season 4 and Season 5 Heartbreaker cards can provide a style bonus. Now listen, I hope that I still got some of those cards on my team, because there's a good chance I might have used them to train some players, but I know that some of these Heartbreakers have been dropping on the draft board. So you might have some already, right? There's a good chance that you have that. I think there was a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander that dropped, and then Tim Duncan. So check out for those. I'm going to look at my catalog right after this. And another thing that I want to mention is you get metal hearts on the draft board that you can redeem in stores. So here goes what's called the sweet treat. Those metal hearts that you can get from the draft board, you can redeem in one of these packs. So purchase this pack by earning metal heart currency on the draft board, pick or roll. Oh, it says a pick or roll to get 3 Heartbreaker cards from the reward deck. First pool, you can see they got John Stockton and Iguodala. Then they got the Chauncey Billups and the Dirk. Reward pool number 2 got McGrady, Kelly Olynyk, along with that Carmelo and that Kevin Love. Then we got Harrison Barnes and Nembhard, Ray Allen, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Then we got Kawhi Leonard, Brook Lopez, Tim Duncan, and Larry Bird, who does drop from the draft board. Reward pool number 5 has Turkoglu, Gary Trent Jr., Chris Bosh, Manu Ginobili. And then the last pool will have AJ Griffin, Cam Reddish, Ben Wallace, and Baron Davis. That's actually a pretty cool surprise. So these are players that you can use to get the extra style bonus for the event, being that the event is only for 1 week. So as always, I appreciate all the support everyone's been showing on the channel. Let me know in the comments, what Heartbreaker players are you excited about? Are you hyped for this upcoming theme? Will you be grinding the power cap? And as always, I appreciate it. I will catch everybody in the next video. Peace out.